the All-Merciful. Assalamu alaikum, my dear Muslim brothers and sisters. We are right now lucky to be alive in a time where the world is crying out for justice. More specifically, in America right now, we are tired of seeing innocent black men and women being abused by our justice system. As Muslims, we know that Islam is a religion of justice, and we know that we must care about racial discrimination. In the Holy Quran, God tells us, "Be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it's against yourselves or your parents and relatives, whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. So follow not personal inclination, lest you not be just, and if you distort your testimony or refuse to give it, then indeed Allah is ever what you do acquainted." And we know that as Muslims who care about justice, that we must also care about the problem of racial discrimination, because it is a matter of injustice happening, and we must fix that. And the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, tells us, "Whoever possesses in his heart asbiyah, even to the extent of a mustard seed, God will raise him on the day of resurrection with the pagans." This is no small statement, and we need to take time to ponder on it. Now, unfortunately, despite the many hadiths, despite the many Quranic verses telling us that there is no room, no space in our Muslim communities for racism, we know that racism does exist within our masjids, within our Islamic centers and communities. Step one is understanding what racism is. This right here is not racism. We have an idea of what a racist person looks like in our minds, and it's often a very, very violent, disturbing image. And although, yes, this person is a racist, whenever we have this as the idea of racism, we neglect to look at ourselves. If we break this down, essentially racism is our own internal bias against a different race. And oftentimes we don't think that we're racist or someone that we know who we love is racist because there's no violence. But racism is just a matter of the bias that we have. Brothers and sisters, we have to accept that every single person has their own bias. We have our own biases, and having your own racial bias doesn't make you an evil person. And there are good people who are racist. But the only way for us to tackle this problem is us to first acknowledge that it exists, instead of pretending that it doesn't exist, that we're all perfect, that no one in the community is racist, no community leaders or people who attend our programs are racist. This is simply not the case. Step number two, after step one, which was acknowledging that we have biases, we must now acknowledge what our biases are. We must examine them deeply, look into them, try to understand them. The more we understand them, the more we understand ourselves, we can eradicate this problem slowly, inshallah. I'll use that racism oftentimes disguises itself as logic. Racist people don't think to themselves that they're being irrational, illogical people. They really believe that they're being logical. I mean, think back to the story that we all know where Shaitan would not bow down to Adam. Shaitan was using his own logic to say to himself that he is better than Adam. We think to ourselves that we're being safe, we're being logical. I think this is oftentimes the case whenever we think about black people. We often think about them as more aggressive, more dangerous, and we have to be wary of them. And I'm going to give you guys a good way of potentially avoiding this kind of issue. Think about this. If you're only looking to be cautious of one race of someone, it's a handicap. It's actually a way for someone to get behind you and use your own bias against you. Look up pictures online right now of school shooters, of serial killers. You will find that the vast majority of them are all white men. If you